This is Rapid Prototyping for Enhanced Visitor Accessibility and Experience, a workshop on using rapid prototyping, 3D printing for collections display, improving inclusion for tactile learners, blind, and remote visitors in museums. The example we're going to use for this is the Chetamura pottery, and we're going to go quickly through these things. These are what I think about when I start a project. This is a small example. The pot in the image is, of course, an extremely large example. The first thing is digitization, correction, and modification. The second is fabrication and finishing. And then the last is how are these things going to be displayed and used. First, digitization. What is your purpose? What are you using this for? In this case, we want to build replicas of ceramics for research use and display outside the country of origin. Our rights, the original objects are thousands of years old. We don't have to worry about that. The images and traces and resulting objects are within copyright. This traced image, this is a replica, but the trace of the original pot that they made is, of course, within Florida State University's copyright. Scanning and modeling. Most of the time you would scan an object. Whoever got this model most likely scanned the original or made a very, very good model. In this case, we took these radial representations, did a radial extrude, and got our finished objects. That's how I did all of them. They're actually a little bit more perfect than the original would be. Correction modification. This is just making sure that you're doing things correctly. Just making sure that these are the right size. Making sure that your units are correct. We did have to switch from imperial to metric a few times and back, and some things were written as units or as written as numbers without their units, causing a big problem. Alterations. These we didn't alter at all. If you want to add a little symbol for your museum, for your school, for whatever on the bottom of your object, you can totally do that, and this is the time. File details, we just made them good enough for printing. We didn't worry about much else. Print preparation. Most of these were cut up so we could print them well without any supports and within our print bed. And our print bed at the time was about the size of the screen you see here. So maybe 10 inches by 6 or 7. This is a digital representation of a different pot cut in half. Of course, it's not this one. A different pot cut in half, ready to be printed, and then this flat face would be pressed against the print bed. It would print out the object, and then we would assemble them. Fabrication and finishing. These are printed in PLA with 20% fills. PLA is polylactic acid. It's just a nicer plastic to print in than most other things. These are heat seamed, which means they're not glued together. They're just welded right there. And then traditional process, models are sanded, primed, spray, and faux finished. A good example of that. This is a Venus of Willendorf right out of a 3D printer. This is one after it has been finished, after it has been faux finished like you would do almost anything. These objects here are examples of the sanded pieces right before they went off to go and get faux finish. You can see that the numbers here just keep track of which objects are which. Display and use. These objects were used for a limited time. Replacements will be made as needed, but not necessary. The information, I'll show you in a second, the information that was added to them. Experiential supplements. Contemporary ceramics were added because these, while they look good and they feel nice, they don't have the weight or like coldness of ceramics. And then the long tail. We didn't plan on using these objects for anything else. They are the property of Florida State University, so we were not able to release them into the public domain, but the models were kept on file for research purposes. Here's an example of how they were displayed with their please do touch, the photograph of the original object, and the drawing of the trace. You can see here people interacting with these objects. You can imagine how this would be a great educational opportunity and great for people with visual impairments and the blind. All right, if you guys have any questions, please let me know. My name is Windham Graves. I'm from Alabama State University in the Visual Arts Department. The original Chetamura objects that we made were made by found by Nancy DeGrummond in Florida State University's Classics Department.